Another night here. Welcome to Morgan You Asked For podcast. Ryan Morgan here, along with Trevor Voss as usual. June 19th, tomorrow, summer solstice, longest sunlight of the day, some sunlight day of the year. Is the weather good out there, Trev? Today was perfect. It rained a little bit, but it was 73 degrees. Not really that humid. I mean, it was raining, so it was a little bit humid, but just perfect. It was 90 some a couple days before, and then it's going to go right back up now. But today was perfect, I thought.
Morning, it was 47 degrees and raining. It got a high of 55 today, so it's been misting all day, which is good. We need the moisture, and then come tomorrow it should be warming back up. So I actually had to turn the furnace on for a bit this morning. It was 59 degrees in my house when I woke up, so turned the furnace on for about 10 minutes, and then because all my winter clothes were put away, I didn't feel like digging them out, so I turned the furnace on for about 10 minutes real quick and warmed the house up.
I did see when Montana got a pretty good snowstorm actually today. So
yeah, they got some snow, but yeah, after tonight, come tomorrow, it'll get back in the 70s and then the 80s and 90s like the next 10 days.
Yeah, we are officially summer as of tomorrow. So, well, we're going to start as we have talked about for the last several weeks is Caitlin Clark, and then not just her, but really her team, the Indiana Fever, for tonight won their third game in a row. If the season ended today, they're in the playoffs, which is, I mean, that's 8 out of 12 teams. That is what it is, but there's only 12 teams. So, and, you still want to have a little bit of an actual playoff. So, I mean, it does make sense. But I kind of have, and we talked about it a little bit in our pregame talk, but they look better. And I think it comes with several things. One, the schedule's easier. They're not playing the Liberty and the Sun and the Aces. Those are three of the best teams in the league, and they played each of them 2 or 3 times in the first 10 games. Now, I know why the WNBA did that, but it really wasn't fair to them because of they're a super young team and back-to-back number 1 picks, so obviously they're not very good, but they're getting better. And then also with playing so many games so early, they had no practice time. And they've talked about this, and they're finally getting, they have 1 game and then a couple days off, but so they're actually being able to have practice, which does matter. I mean, yes, they're professional players and they don't need all the little things of practice. But
Well, we may have lost Morgan there for a second. Here he comes.
I think
Are you alive, Morgan?
I am alive, but my whole
I can
thing
hear you. That's good.
But
that's fine. I can hear you. So you keep going. We're good.
There you go. Yeah, that was weird. My whole computer just went black. I don't think that's a good thing, but
I don't know. I didn't know if someone broke in to get you there for a second.
Yeah, no, that was weird. But just they don't need to work on all the little things as a team. Now, as an individual player, and we've all heard the Kobe Bryant stories, you do the little things, the same things a 5th grader does: footwork, ball handling, shooting drills. But I think that's the stuff you do on your own. But there are certain things you do need to work on as a team. And, they run a lot of pick and roll stuff, and they need to just learn how each other reacts to each different play. And they're getting better. And then, kind of my last thing, Clark and Boston are starting to work much better together. And they look more in sync. And then Aliyah Boston just playing better. I wonder if she was really good on TV, and I want her to continue to do that. But I wonder if that did not allow her to prepare for the season as maybe she should have. And hopefully she learns from that a little bit. She's still a young player and knows that she still needs to put the work in, so she's ready to go from night 1, not night 10.
Yeah, definitely helping out with ESPN. That may have interrupted her normal schedule of working out and practicing like she normally does. You said it best. They got through this tough chunk of the schedule where the WNBA wanted to put them on TV as much as possible. It feels like they played Connecticut, and some of these other teams in New York Liberty like 8 times already. I know it's not that many, but that's what it feels like. So their schedule's easing up a little bit. They're actually getting some time to practice. And as you said, now they're kind of in more of a normal schedule. They get to play a game, they get a few days off, play a game, a few days off. That's kind of what you would like. And just speaking of where they're at now, they've actually won 5 of 7. They do have 5 road games coming up, but right now they are in 8th place. Depending on how they do with these 5 road games, Las Vegas is only 6-6. They have Atlanta coming up, who's ahead of them. Vegas. Uh, Depending how they come out of this 5-game road stretch, they can move up to 7th or 6th in the standings.
And that would be, they haven't been in the playoffs for several years, like not just the last couple, but I think they're the longest team without getting the playoffs, maybe even like 2016 or 17. So it's been a while. So that would be, I mean, I would say that would be the goal of that team this year, was just get to the playoffs. And then whatever happens, happens. Get another good player. I mean, obviously, if you're in the playoffs, you're not going to get the number 1 pick. Do they do? I'm sure they don't do a lottery, do they? I don't know that. I guess I would assume it just kind of goes by.
That I don't know exactly. I do think there might be a lottery for like the top 4 or 6.
Okay.
I think there might be, but I'm going to have to double check on that. But you can tell, you said their schedule is easing up, but you can tell they are playing better as a team. You can tell they're more used to getting Clark's passes.
Yeah, that's a big thing I've seen.
There was a couple shots that I think at Iowa she normally would have took tonight. 2 particular that she passed up, was looking to get her teammates involved. So she's growing as a player. They're playing better as a team. And, tonight she had 18 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals. And I saw something, I think if she has one more 25-5 game, what she'll probably get, I think she'll tie the record for most of those by a rookie in a season, or maybe any player in a season. So she's setting all sorts of rookie records, and we're not even at the halfway point. So it's definitely more fun to watch than those first 8 games or so were.
Absolutely, they are. And that's what I've noticed too, just kind of watching the box scores and everything, is I think tonight she was 2 of 6 from 3-point line. At Iowa, she would have had 12 to 15 3-point shots. That's just what she would have done. Now, she probably would add a lot more points, but when you're going to shoot, double, 2.5 times as many 3-point shots. And she's realizing she doesn't need to do that for her team. She did at Iowa, I think. That was the expectation, and that's what they needed to win the ball games, the big games. But in the WNBA and with her team, her shooting 15 threes a game. One, I think the defense is just so much better in the WNBA than in college basketball. They're not allowing that. Much more face guarding. They're blitzing her off the screen, the pick and roll. They want her to get it to Boston. I think some teams are, you can imagine those crowds. And she's had a couple of those. The one game she had 7 threes. But think if she had a 10 for 15 night, how crazy, if it was in Indiana, that crowd would be going nuts. And that'd be, I don't care what team it is. They've got blown out by 40, 50 points. But if she would do that against the Liberty or the Sun, that crowd would be going absolutely nuts. And that'd be a hard place to play for anybody. I think it's already hard. They're having 20,000 people almost every night. They're moving games because of her. Setting a record, Sunday morning on CBS at 11 o'clock. It was actually like a perfect day for watching sports. 11-1 was the Sun, or was the Fever. And then, the U.S. Open, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit, but then the U.S. Open was on. So that was a good Father's Day TV day.
Sunday, when they played Chicago, that game broke a bunch of records. Of course, Keith Murphy posted about 2.25 million viewers on average. It peaked at 3, one of the highest rated games of all time. And Clark got the better of Reese there. again in the WNBA. Another incident. Seems like anytime they play, and they're going to play again this coming Sunday. So anytime those two play, that's just something. There's going to be drama in the game no matter what. And one thing I did notice before I just give you your opinion on that, I don't know if you saw it. Well, actually, I'm sure you did. I don't know if you're watching it live though. Caitlin Clark seems to be getting more blocks in the WNBA than she did in college. And I don't know why that is exactly. And I haven't looked up the numbers to see if that's correct or not, but it seems like she's getting a lot more blocks and steals than she did in college.
And that just goes to show her basketball IQ, I think, because she's not the best athlete out there. She is 6 foot tall, and you look even at the WNBA. There's a lot of 5'8", 5'9", 5'10" girls out there. So she's taller than a lot of people she's guarding because they're not putting her on the best offensive player. That's not. She's never going to draw that assignment for the Fever, and that's just not the way she plays basketball. That'd be if any coach would put, obviously they're going to, switch sometimes where you're going to have it, but you're not assigning Caitlin Clark to their best offensive player. And she knows how to play. She knows she's starting to play some teams more than once now, and people have tendencies. And I think she studies. I'm assuming she studies and watches a lot of film and knows what the players are going to do. And a block, if you're not just physically bigger and more athletic, a block shot is just recognition and react. Just read and react what the player's doing. And if you know what they're like, Caitlin Clark's number one shot is a step back three, and you go left, and she goes left. It's really hard to block because she's 6 foot tall and it's a step back. But that's, that shot. So if you could get into that, you could block that shot. Easier said than done, but every player has a tendency. And I think that, and then just her basketball IQ, getting in passing lanes and getting her hands in the way and deflecting passes and stealing the basketball. And then that's just a great, if she could, she gets a cross-court pass steal and she's heading towards the other end, her in the open court with the ball, if someone else is, and we've seen some highlights where they can't handle the pass or they miss the layup, but the more they do it, the more they practice that those are the things they can practice. The catch and the lay-in or the little shot from somebody else is going to be more and more to help the team, and they'll be more successful.
Yeah, absolutely. You can just tell they're getting better at it. And one thing too, there's only, there's 12 teams, so she only has 11 teams that she has to study. Back in college, you had all the Big Ten teams and non-conference teams, tournament teams. So she can really dial in on those 11 teams and the main, 4 or 5 girls that she's going to, go against. So she can get, really her study habits down to a science. And then, the big game coming up, they do play Friday night at Atlanta. Don't want to say that's a must win, but if they can get that one and then potentially win on the road at Chicago on Sunday versus Angel Reese and Kennedy Carter, that would go a long ways to helping their place in the standings. And I'm sure come Sunday, something will happen in that game, whatever it is. And if nothing happens in that game, something will happen in the press conference after.
And I want to address that. That was a basketball play. It was called a foul. They reviewed it, upgraded it because she hit her in the head. It happened. She was trying to block it. You watch that. That happens in almost every basketball game.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't like the Kennedy Carter one where they pushed her and just called a regular foul and had to upgrade it after. They did everything that they were supposed to do on the floor. Called a foul, upgraded it. Caitlin Clark shot her free throws, and they went on about their business. That was just it happened to be Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. I thought there was nothing to that except for, the problem with the Kennedy Carter one before was they did not upgrade it right away, and it was a non-basketball play.
Yeah, really, this one with Angel Reese, there was really nothing to it.
No.
She was going in for a hard swat, but the media is going to turn into something. Then, of course, Angel's going to feed into it after the game at the press conference. More than anything, she's going to say, certain players get special whistles.
Yeah.
Angel did blew a kiss to the crowd like she does. So there's always going to be something when these two teams are playing.
Yeah. And that's good for the league. It is. We've talked about it. That's good for the league.
No, absolutely. So a big win for them tonight. They're on the right track. Like I said, you had to give Chrissy Siles this month just because of the start of the season. Now you look at it, they've won 5 of 7. They're on the right track. I still don't know if she's the right coach, but they're starting to win some games and look better now. Let's see how they look now with the 5 games on the road.
Yeah, I think she survives the season now. I mean, and you talked about that, and you had good points. Have an interim coach, then you go to a new coach, and now Caitlin Clark's got 3 coaches in less than a year. That's hard.
Yeah, I think at this point, let's see how the rest of this month goes, and if it goes okay, you keep it the rest of the season. You see how the season finishes out, see what the morale of the team is, and then you make your decision.
And I know that this was not on our rundown, but speaking of coaches getting fired, how about Detroit firing Monty Williams today, 1 year after they signed a 7-year, $78 million deal, and he still owed like $65 million? Did he make someone mad in the front office or something? I mean, that one, it's late to fire a coach. The NBA Finals just finished. They did have the worst record. I mean, that's nothing. I mean, but if you want to fire him, you fire him April 15th or whatever, not June 18th, 19th. I just thought it was weird timing, and that's a lot of money because they're not very good, and I don't know who you're going to get that's better. That's what I don't understand. They're not going to go win the NBA championship. Go hire Boston's coach. They're not getting anywhere that Monty Williams didn't take them. Might have a few more wins, but they're not winning a championship.
Yeah, the timing is a weird thing, especially with how many years and how much money they owe him. Like you said, it's weird to do it now. You thought you would have done it sooner. I don't know if there's some weird thing in the contract, or maybe they saved $5 or $10 million bucks. I'm not sure, but weird timing. But if you're Monty Williams, it sucks. But you're still a rich man, though.
Absolutely. And when he got fired, and I think he was at Phoenix before, he had like $20 million left. So he's got like $85 million of. He's the Charlie Weiss of the NBA, I guess.
Yeah, he doesn't have to coach anymore if he doesn't want. He can go kick his feet up on a beach or go do whatever he wants to do at this point.
Yeah, it's good. Coaching is a good gig if you can get there. It's really hard, and if you can get there, you get paid no matter what happens.
Yeah, not that I want to get fired, but if I was to get fired and was getting paid $50 or $60 million, I wouldn't feel as bad.
I think both of our companies that we work for, the school district and your company, we get fired. I don't think we get very much to not come to work.
No, what do you get? The rest of your paycheck and maybe some vacation, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah. School districts might be less than that. Heck,
Yeah, that's about the best you can hope for in our shoes. But yeah, that was strange. I don't know what was up with that.
Okay. Now the next topic here, really the next 2 topics are Big 12 centric as the conference. Reports have came out that they are looking at selling their naming rights. And I think this is a little bit different than kind of at first I'm like, well, that'd be fine. The Big 12 conference presented by Allstate or Dr. Pepper or Whataburger, or it doesn't matter who it is, whatever company wants to pay that. I don't have a problem. I think that's actually smart. It's easy money. But this is a little different, that they're really like, it's not going to be the Big 12 conference presented by, or, the All-State Big 12 conference. It is going to be the All-State conference or the All-State 16 or the All-State 12, whatever they decide it is. And I'm using All-State because I've seen that as the biggest example, but replace whatever company you want to do that. That's a little bit different than just naming rights to your conference, I think. So I think, the money you would ask for would be a little bit higher. And then you just, after that, say sign a 10-year deal or a 5-year deal, whatever, ready to rebrand it again. I mean, your conference logo and your conference, there's going to be no history of the conference, which there's a big argument there that the Big 12 doesn't have a big historical presence anyway. It started in 1996. The Southwest Conference failed. The Texas schools needed a place. The Big 8 was just 8. It was the Pac-10. It was the Big 10. It was the SEC had gotten to 12, I think, at that point, because they were the first ones in the early 90s to have the conference championship football game. So it was I've heard it kind of a marriage of convenience. I've heard that term used for it. Teams it was roughly in the footprint of, just a little south Oklahoma. So it's not the Big 10 where you go back to 1932 when Minnesota and Iowa were winning championships or whatever you want to say. There's none of that historical, references in the Big 12. So I think that makes it a little bit easier. And then the other thing is you just need more money. There is no getting around it that the SEC and the Big 10 are making a lot more money. And anything you can do to try to level the playing field is a good thing. So I think the Big 12 is probably going to do this. I would say, I think August 1st is the official first day of the new conference. The new 16 teams, Texas and Oklahoma leave, and Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado all join. So I would assume on that day, this will be announced. That'd be my guess. I might be jumping the gun a little bit there, but it's that or you got to wait a whole year. I mean, you're not going to go. I don't think you're going to sign that deal in January. Maybe, but I would think you want to do it for the entire school year.
Definitely be a little weird. The All-State 12 or whatever they're going to call it, like you said, it's just going to be odd. You could have the Casey's or the Hy-Vee 12 or the Come and Go 12, the Love's Travel Stop 12.
Absolutely. It's Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper's right there in Waco. Whataburger. That's a bit. It's whatever company wants to pay the rights, and I get it, but it's just a little different than now. Will you think of it like the Rose Bowl, or the Fiesta Bowl? You still call it the Fiesta Bowl, but it was always, it's been the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. It was the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl forever. It was the FedEx Orange Bowl. Now it's whatever it is. The Rose Bowl is AT&T, I'm pretty sure, and it's changed over the years. It's the All-State Sugar Bowl, but it's still called the Sugar Bowl. So will you still call it the Big 12? Probably. Most people would, because that's just what you kind of know it as. But, when everybody reads it or it's printed, it'll say the All-State. Almost going to think it's going to be the All-State Conference, because I don't know if you want to put numbers on it because it's always changing. I don't know. It'll be interesting. And then are the Big 10 and SEC arrogant enough to not sell their naming rights? Or will they say, we are not letting the Big 12 come in and even come close to closing the gap on money and take that same deal? Because they do have that 100-year history of conference that the Big 12 does not have. The Big 10 means something. I do. I think I'm not a Big 10, lover or whatever, but the Big 10 means something. So I don't think they would really want to sell. They don't want to sell it to, I don't know what's it come. Well, let's use Gamebridge. It's in Indiana, right in the middle, the Gamebridge Conference. I don't think the Big 10 will do that. Now, I would not put them past them to do more of the Gamebridge, the Big 10 Conference presented by Gamebridge or whatever. But I don't think they would truly change the name of their conference for a naming right.
Right now, I don't think they have to because of the TV deals that they're getting. So I think right now that they're fine. Now, 3 to 5 years from now, if the All-State 12 or whatever it's going to be called is catching up, or the ACC conference for that matter is starting to get close to them, then they might have no choice. But I think for right now, the Big Ten and the SEC don't have to really do much just because they've added so many of the big name teams. I think they're sort of protected, at least for a few years.
I do too, but they don't want to lose out on any money. Don't kid yourselves.
It'd be more presented by, like you said. It wouldn't be
right.
It'd be the
Yeah,
Big
they're
Ten
not
presented
changing
by
their conference. Yeah, I mean, I don't see the Big Ten changing their name. I don't, because the SEC still. I mean, yeah, they're adding Texas, Oklahoma, but you could still, if you draw a map of the U.S., you could classify Texas and Oklahoma as southeastern quarter if you really wanted to.
Yeah, especially that little Austin, Texas, that whole eastern part
Yeah.
of Texas, kind of in a way, kind of connects to Louisiana. If you've ever been down there, it's sort of in a way, it sort of feels connected at
Yeah.
times, especially driving through there. But yeah, I think for right now, I would expect them to not necessarily make a move, but if they do, I'd go with what you said. It'd be more the Big Ten presented by this or the SEC presented by Publix or something like that.
Yeah. I agree with that. And then the other part of this was, and this is less likely. I've heard some reports that they're kind of backing away from this because presidents and administrators are questioning this one a little bit more. Is a private equity firm presented to, ADs and administrators and presidents, almost like a buying of like 20% of the league. Essentially, they're guarantee them $1 billion over, let's just go 10 years, $1 billion. So $100 million a year. And then essentially they get 20% of the league. Now, what does that 20% mean? I think that's a big question of mine. Is it 20% of the profit of the league that year? Is it 20% of the TV rights? Does Iowa State have to give 20% of all their revenue back to the conference, and every team has to do that, and then that goes to that equity firm? A lot of ways you could do that. But those private equity firms, they're not in the business of losing money. So they want to return and they want to make money in those situations. So it's not $1 billion donation to the conference. That one's just, I think there's a lot more questions on that one. And I've heard that one is very much less likely to happen, at least right now. Now, as we talked about, in 5 years, if the gap keeps getting bigger, the Big 12 has sold their naming rights, but then the SEC and Big 10 do it as well. And obviously they're going to be able to charge more for their naming rights because, as you said, they have the bigger schools, bigger names. I would assume they could get more money, so that gap keeps widening. And is this a way to guarantee cash flow? I mean, you're selling your soul a little bit here, but it's $1 billion. If you could get $1 billion guaranteed money, you need money.
You know who's got it?
I know who has it.
Saudi Arabia. What about the Live coming in? The Live conference,
right?
The Big 12 presented by Live,
right? I mean, that's essentially what it is, and it's those type of companies. And yeah, I don't know. My biggest thing is college sports are, and that's what you have to call it now. You have to call it college sports. It's not amateur, and it hasn't been amateur for a long time, but it truly is not amateur sports anymore. It is the college, it's college football. It's college basketball. It's not amateur because these kids are getting paid. The coaches are making buku bucks. I mean, Dan Hurley didn't turn down $70 million because the goodness of his heart that he isn't making any money at UConn.
Yeah, as you said, college sports haven't really been amateur for a long time. It's just more out in the open now. You and I have always kind of known about it. You obviously working at Iowa State. Me and knowing some people that played at Iowa. you hear plenty of stories, and
Oh,
we all see things that go on. So it's
oh,
definitely a
yeah.
different world now, and it's not amateur. I mean, you know, even high school these days, you could almost say in certain areas is an amateur. I mean, you might have to go down to grade school sports at this point.
Yeah. I mean, there's very much truth to your statement there. Yeah, even in 2000, it was you wanted to go live in an apartment because your check was bigger from the university because you didn't have to pay the room and board, and then you go find a cheap house to rent or a cheap apartment, put several guys in there, so your check's bigger. Because the check size is the same. It's the cost of room and board and everything, but you just always try to find ways to get a bigger check, and that's really what it was. And that wasn't cheating. It was just, hey, I can get an extra $150 a month in my pocket. Why not?
Same thing Brock Purdy's doing in the pros in San Francisco. Got to
Yeah,
have more roommates.
exactly.
See,
Yeah,
keep more of your money. That's that. We did the same thing in college when we got our financial aid. The
yeah.
more roommates you had, if you get a little house or apartment, the more money you had at the end of the month. And what do you do with that? You wasted it. Went down to the bar and went out to
Oh
eat all the
yeah,
time. But that's the life of a college kid.
yeah. That's exactly right. All right, last thing here. U.S. Open, great tournament. You know, again, the big names do rise to the occasion. It really came down to two of the biggest names in golf, both U.S. Open champ, one live, one PGA Tour, and two of the biggest, kind of mouths or rah guys for their league. Roy McIlroy, obviously PGA Tour, you know, going through, the face of the PGA Tour, and it's been hard on him in the last 2 years. I have no doubt in my mind. And then his personal life, I don't know what's going on there. He's getting divorced now. He's not. Who knows what's going on there? And that's it. Everybody has their own issues. We've talked about that many times. Wish him the best in whatever he decides to do or what is going to do with his personal life. But it's been over 10 years since he's won a major. And you wouldn't have thought that. He's got second several times. He got second last year at the U.S. Open by a shot. Birdied the first hole last year and then didn't birdie another one, lost by one. And then this year, I think he had a 2-shot lead with about 4 holes to go, I believe. And he bogeyed 3 of the last 4 holes with one 2.5 3-footer and one 4.5-footer missed. So 2 little ones that he needs to make. And he had been 496 out of 496 from 3 foot and in on the season. And then Bryson on the 18th hole drove it, not a good spot.
Hey Morg, I don't know if you may have muted yourself.
Now I'm back. Should be back now.
There you are. Yeah, you were saying what Bryson was doing there on the final hole.
Yeah, so he drove it left, couldn't go really towards the green, put it in front in the front bunker, 50-yard bunker shot, which is not easy at all, and hit it to 4 feet, made the putt. So, and one of the best shots to give himself a great chance to win the U.S. Open, and step up and made a great bunker shot and made the putt, 1 by 1. So it didn't even go to a playoff. So on the course is what it is. Rory got beat. I mean, the story is he walked out, didn't talk to the media, didn't congratulate Bryson, kind of sped out. I mean, everybody's seen the highlight of the car kind of peeling out a little bit to get there. But I get it. His home life is not good, very obvious right now. He was really mad at himself, I'm sure, disappointed. And maybe knew that was the best thing for him to do because he didn't know what to say, how to say it, and he didn't want to react on camera the way he felt. So saying nothing, yes, he's going to still hear about it, but that's better than being in the press room or whatever and saying or doing something even worse, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was a tough position for him because he's the face of the PGA right now, as far as guys that are playing. Tiger still is, but Tiger's really not playing. So it's really Rory who's been the voice of the PGA versus Live. This is obviously a Live player that's winning, or that had won it right in front of him after, like you said, he missed 2 short putts. Uh, as a face of the PGA, you're expected to stick around, answer a few questions. And, was it the best look for him? No. Should he have stuck around? I think he probably should have. He's getting paid a lot of money. NBC's kind of expecting it, some of his sponsorships. But if that's the worst thing that Rory ever does, no harm in my book. He's one of the best guys on tour. So I feel bad for him. I still think Rory's going to win another major here soon. If you keep putting yourself in those positions that many times, eventually you're going to get the breaks to go your way and win one. We saw that with Alexander Shopley with all the close calls that he had over the years. He finally got his. I know Rory already has some, but it's been so long. So I think Rory gets another. And then going to Bryson, I mean, we talked about it before. No athlete, in recent memory has changed their public perception more than Bryson. Just a complete turnaround of a guy that most people didn't like to now most people think he's kind of the face of golf. I tend to agree. He's really likable now. If you watch his YouTube channel, this is 2 U.S. Opens for him. Just a clutch performance there on 18 to get that par. And then, a whole nother thing of this is he was left off the United States Olympic team, and there seems to be a lot of drama with the Olympic teams going around, and that's a whole nother debate. I think he's one of the best 4, but that's a side story there on that.
Yeah, I mean, he was left off the Ryder Cup team last year. That was a big thing too.
Yeah, left off the Ryder Cup team, and just if I had to pick the Olympic team, it would obviously be Scotty Scheffler, Bryson, and Xander would be my top 3, and then whoever the 4th's going to be. But looks like we may have lost Morg. There he is, kind of coming in and out. So we've got some tough technical difficulties going on here tonight. We'll give Morg a second here to see if he can get back on. Not sure what's going on his end, but no, overall, just a great U.S. Open, a dramatic finish. I won a little bit of money there. I placed some money on Bryson after the first day, so I was happy to see him win. But Morgan's back now, so I'll let you share some of your thoughts on some stuff I was rambling about there.
Yeah, my computer is going haywire today. I don't know what. It probably hasn't been on since last week, so I guess that might have been it. Maybe I needed to fire up a little before. And I don't know exactly what y'all said. Like I said, I got kicked out here for a little bit. The biggest thing with Bryson is just the change. He's always been a little different. And it was a little bit of poetic with Payne Stewart's being the 25th anniversary. Because when Bryson began on tour, he wore the hat like Payne Stewart. He's always been a little different. His irons are all the same length. He does things different. He beefed up and did the long drive stuff. He thought that was the way to go. He was always a little brash. He's I think an engineering major, so he's super smart. But I think he wanted people to know he was super smart, so he talked down to people when he was younger. And now, I know you mentioned his YouTube channel. It's kind of funny. He brings out hickory clubs, and with his club speed, hits it. I watched him play around with the junior set from Walmart. Just things like that. He does crazy stuff, and he's figured out. He's grown up. I mean, I think that's some of it. Just became more mature. He's owned his live thing. He said it was guaranteed money. I mean, that's the biggest thing. He straight up said it's about money. He wanted to do a few things. I think he does a lot of stuff with charities in Texas, where he's from. And it was a better way, an easier way for him to do that. He plays good. He's played well at Live, left off the Ryder Cup team and then, not on the Olympic team because it's all just because of world golf rankings. That's got to get solved. That's a bigger issue, but that has to get solved. I mean, he gets world golf ranking points for winning the Open, right, Trev?
Yeah, I think he was still one of the, could have been one of the top selections, but he just missed out to Wyndham Clark because he hadn't played enough PGA events. But yes, he
Right.
did get points for the major.
Okay.
So yeah, you're right. They do have to get that figured out at some point. I think they're going to. They're going to have to merge here sooner than later, and they will have to get that figured out. Whatever, I don't know what the solution is, but like Pat
I'm even
McAfee
saying
says, they smart people figure it out.
even if they don't merge or whatever, and maybe they don't get as many points as a regular tour event, but give them something. They are still playing professional golf. People that play in Europe still get world golf ranking points. Give them something. But yeah, we'll get there. But and then Roy taking a month off. I don't know. Obviously, if he wins, he probably doesn't take a month off, but probably needed. I bet that flight home was so bad. I wouldn't even want to have been on that flight home. I don't even.
No,
I don't know what you say to him as a caddy, friend, agent. As far as I know, he went home to his wife. I don't know what you say as a spouse, or obviously as Poppy, his daughter, doesn't really understand yet. I think she's only 2 or 3, but I don't know what you say. His mom and dad said, obviously you'll get it next time. I mean, you do the regular stuff, but it doesn't help because it's not like he's trying to win as you said this earlier. He's not trying to win his first one. He's got a U.S. Open. He's got a PGA. He's got a British Open. He doesn't have a Masters. But yeah, I mean, it's 10 years now of him not winning a major. And again, as we've said, just shows how dominant and how different Tiger was than everybody else. From 2000 to 2008, Tiger won. I mean, the bet was the field or Tiger, and Tiger won a lot of bets, and the bet was Tiger. And it was getting to that point a little bit with Scheffler at only 3-1, and he barely made the cut. Never broke par. But yeah, you feel horrible for Rory, but good for Bryson stepping up. He signed that kid's hat in the middle of the round. Tiger Woods doesn't do that. Rory McIlroy doesn't do that. Might be only him that does it. And he stayed around. Did you watch that guy recreate his shot, the announcer on Golf with Live? And then he comes up with his on a golf cart, and they're laughing, and he stayed, and he said he wanted everybody to touch the trophy, and I think they did, and he stayed after. They had to turn the lights on. He's realized and decided that it's easier to be nice to people and to, have fun with it. And I don't know if it was just him saying, I got to do better, or somebody got in his head or got to him. It was an agent, his sponsors. It doesn't matter who it was. He's fun, and I want to see him play on the PGA Tour against these guys every week.
Yeah, he's more fun. Whoever it was, he kind of feels like the Phil Mickelson of when we grew up in a way. Yep. A little bit different, but a character that a lot of people liked, or at least were drawn to. Even if they didn't like him, they still had to tune in to see what he was doing. So total turnaround for Bryson. he's making the tour now, obviously, with the trophy going on all the shows. He'll probably continue to do that here for, probably the next 7 to 10 days. But yeah, for Rory, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out and wins the Open Championship, or the British Open, as some call it, here in about a month.
Yeah, I'd like that a lot. I think that'd be his. What's he have? He has 2 PGAs, 1 US Open, 1 British. He has 4, right?
I believe he's up for.
Yeah, so that'd be two British Opens. So that'd be good. Royal Troon is where it's at in about a month. They played that. I think it's all dependent on what that golf event is all predicated on weather. On if it's wet and sunny, if it's wet leading up and it's sunny and nice during the tournament, they can go real low. If the weather sucks, it will be really hard.
Yeah, for sure. Can you hit a lot of low shots? Can you hit? Tigers spoke about it. Many others that have maybe aren't used to playing that type of golf, the links, true links golf. You have to think about different types of shots, longer putts, look at things a little bit differently. So we'll see what the weather is. I did see last time they played there, that was the Henrik Stenson versus Phil back in 2016. That great match that they had. That was one I actually thought about. Like, that's one I could go back and rewatch again, that final day.
Yeah, I mean, that was all day. It was just back and forth, and went to extras, didn't it?
I forget if it did, but I just remember there being a lot of drama, long putts. Phil might have had a lip out to maybe even send it to extra. I forget exactly what happened, but when I saw that, I'm like, I sort of remember that, but I can't remember if it went extra holes or not.
I do remember watching that, and can't believe that's 8 years ago already.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it, but that's the last time. So Henrik Stenson won their last time. Again, I think that's July 14th through 18th or something, whenever they're going to be playing that. So it would be nice if Rory could come out on top, but we'll have to maybe do a little preview for that one if we have nothing else going on.
Yeah, that'll be right before football starts. I think I saw today that the Bears rookies have to report July 16th. So right then. So
anything else for tonight?
No, I think I'm good. About 45 minutes in. Sorry for a little bit of technical difficulty tonight, but
no, one thing I did forget to mention. So the WNBA All-Stars, whoever makes the WNBA All-Star team, will play the Olympic team. That's what they were saying on tonight's broadcast. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
So,
and I didn't get home in time to watch it.
If Caitlin Clark makes the All-Star game, and you get her going against the Olympic team, you talk about ratings galore.
Oh, yeah. NBC, if that's somehow that game's on NBC, surely they'll televise that game, won't they?
I would think so. And I like I said, I didn't know that. So I assume the announcers tonight knew what they were talking about. I don't think they were making that up by any means. So if she makes the All-Star game for the WNBA and they play the Olympic team kind of as an exhibition, a little warm-up, and she goes out there and has a good game, boy, the headlines are going to be, well, if she has a good game or has a bad game, regardless, the headlines, that'll be next day news for sure.
Absolutely. Well, next week, again, we'll be back. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more Caitlin Clark. And, and then last thing I do want to mention, Willie Mays did pass away this week. They're honoring him tomorrow in Birmingham. And he had declined, said he couldn't be there. And obviously his health was failing very, very much, and obviously passed away yesterday. But tomorrow night is kind of the Field of Dreams-ish game in baseball. They're playing it using more of a Negro League event down in Birmingham where he played in the 40s. So I'm sure it was already going to honor him, but I'm sure they're going to honor him even more tomorrow night in that baseball game.
Yeah, oldest ballpark in America. I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm going to watch that, and I hope it, future years for baseball, I hope they do the Field of Dreams game every year and then do one or two of these in different sites as well. Sort of an event. I mean, they've got plenty of games. I would think they'd be able to figure something like this out to do 2 or 3 of these a year. But regardless, I am going to tune in tomorrow night and watch. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. All right, Trev, we'll talk again next week. Thanks again, and thanks everybody listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.